Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I interview founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, amazing people all over the world of crypto and blockchain. And today I have a repeat guest. This man is an amazing guest. I know I interviewed him before. It was a great conversation, and you should check out that episode if you haven't heard it already. My guest today is the founder of Boson Protocol. His name is Justin Banon. Justin, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Jamil. Pleasure to be here.
You're very welcome. I'm happy to have you back. So for the people who haven't listened the first time, my first question to everybody is, what is your background, and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, my background was I started out, I did a physics degree, and then I ended up working for a company that were sort of selling like airport lounge visits, a company called Priority Pass. And I ended up doing a master's in digital really early and did this whole digital transformation of them where instead of them issuing like paper and plastic vouchers for these passes, we created digital passes. And then we did like digital passes for lots of other things in the travel experience. And so this was like digitizing products and services in the real world, but in a digital form. And then I sort of carried on and ended up doing a second master's, which was in crypto. And I thought, okay, what happens if you take physical things and you represent them as paper, and then you take them, then you represent them as digital? What would happen if you represented them as in a blockchain sort of context? And I think the answer to that was that, well, it had to mean more than just having a digital pass, right? I mean, with the digital pass, if the issuer decides that they don't want to honor it, then you're kind of, there's not much you can do. But with blockchain, we have this thing called strong commitment. So if you've got a Bitcoin in your wallet or whatever, the issuer can't remove it. And so you had to have a strong commitment that either you get the item or your money back. And it ended up that was quite a hard problem that hadn't been solved previously. And so, yeah, I developed it with my co-founder, who was teaching that sort of technical, some of the technical courses on this master's. And we kind of came up with a solution, wrote a white paper, raised some money, built a team, and ended up building Boson Protocol. So I guess the kind of golden thread there is representing physical things in a sort of an abstracted way, from paper to digital to blockchain.
Awesome. And the first time we spoke mainly on blockchain. We're going to talk about other things today. So, as a founder of Boson Protocol, how did your vision for connecting physical luxury assets with blockchain and AI evolve, and what led to the groundbreaking I'm going to get this pronunciation correct, Dolcelorian
Yeah,
campaign?
that's a good pronunciation. Well, so the way we kind of the Dolcelorian came about, I mean, primarily it was driven by the evolution of our technology and also the evolution of the market. So having built, I mean, firstly, we built Boson Protocol as a solution to enabling sort of, I guess, everyday commerce without the need for someone like Amazon. So the reason that Amazon exists is because if a buyer and a seller that don't know or trust each other want to do business, there's a kind of trust problem. I'm not going to send you my money, and you're not going to send me your goods. Of course, I would you, Jamal, but generally. And so in order, because we can't trust each other, we put this trusted intermediary in the middle. But the challenge with that trusted intermediary is they have a very strong market power, and it's in their interest to abuse it. So invariably, they abuse that market power and start basically taking these outsized profits, right? So, blockchains can solve that by putting a technology in the middle that, instead of saying, don't be evil, actually can't be evil, because we build a system and then I throw away the keys, and basically the system will operate exactly as it was designed to, unless there's some kind of overriding kind of governance vote or community vote that would change the rules for the next version, let's say. And so when you so that was the first concept, was Boson everyday commerce. But you don't use commerce for every the standard commerce process is not something you would use for every transaction. So for example, if you were going to go and buy an expensive painting, or pretty expensive secondhand watch that could be fake and needed verifying, or you were going to buy a gold bar or real estate or commodity. Look, there are lots of things that this kind of sending something through the post and handling disputes after, although that's a really efficient method, that you'd need a more robust, more secure method for certain types of transactions. And I'd done quite a bit of research and published a couple of articles and stuff with a guy called Professor Jason Potts, who's this blockchain economist and stuff. And so, we sort of realized that to cover all of these sort of physical or all of these off-chain assets, you needed alongside Boson a more robust, secure method. But of course, that secure method would also be more expensive, so it wouldn't actually be, you couldn't use this more verified method with for your lower cost items, because it would be. And so the notion of these two complementary protocols, first one was Boson, the second one, which we've launched, is Fermion. And when you put them together, you've got the everyday commerce covered, and then this kind of more verified, high-end, high values commerce covered. So that was the first sort of expansion, to cover all off-chain assets with these two complementary protocols. But what we're also seeing is the economy changing in terms of the advent of AI agents. And there's a real kind of sort of synergy between AI and crypto in the area, in many areas, but particularly in commerce. And one of the problems we've seen with the adoption of with kind of crypto and blockchain technologies is that the user experience is complex, and that everybody recognizes that is a barrier to adoption, right? That's the first thing. But then, AI agents are a kind of alternative to platforms. So what Amazon does for you and for me is it goes and aggregates all of these different suppliers. It kind of manages all the different terms. It does a lot of work in order to just present you with, would you like to buy this? Yes, click, right? And so AI agents can do that work for you as well. The difference is that you could have an AI agent that goes and checks 200 websites before presenting you with 3 options to book a holiday, right? And it can do that for you. But the difference with an AI agent is it can work directly for you, not for Jeff Bezos maximizing value for him, right? So AI agents have got this opportunity to displace platforms, right? With a technology that does the same as a platform, but it works for you. It eliminates this thing we call this principal agent problem, where they work for someone else. So, but if you're going to be delegating loads of your commerce activities to an AI agent, you're going to need some pretty robust guarantees that when you give that agent some money, it's not going to get scammed, right? And that's exactly what our technology does. The way we kind of phrase this is that within our area, crypto needs AI, because instead of talking to a complex crypto application, you can talk to AI in natural language, and then AI can talk machine code, and then it can do it. AI speaks both machine code and human language, right? That's kind of what it does. So we can get over this complex user experience problem. But then also AI needs crypto, because the sort of technology that we've built with Boson and Fermion enables AI to execute even high value, or execute these transactions with these robust guarantees that either they're going to get the item or their money back. They're not going to get scammed. And so we saw both an opportunity in that AI would need our technology to transact, but also removing a challenge, which is that it's difficult for humans to interact directly with blockchain applications. And when you put the two together, that's that. So what we have done is basically upgraded Boson from a protocol that handles commerce to a technology that enables the sort of exchange of any physical or off-chain asset between any agent, whether it's human or AI. So we've turned it into what we call Boson metasystem, which is basically just a layer of this new, this new economy. And within this new economy, I think most people recognize there are going to be far more agents operating than there are going to be humans, right? Of course, there's always going to be humans, but it's going to be lots and lots of agents. And so it enables this exchange of off-chain value between any agent, human or AI.
All that makes sense to me.
Hmm.
What doesn't make sense to me, maybe I should have asked this first, is what exactly is a Dolcelorian? And then, what happens when luxury fashion collides with the AI?
Well, everything that I've sort of said to you probably makes sense to you because you're in crypto, but there's not that many people that it makes sense to. And so the big question and the big challenge for crypto companies is you've got to have this quite deep, sophisticated tech and be able to talk to your audience about it and make sense and do all of that. But then that's going to confuse most people. So, our strategy is to kind of show people something that's cool and powerful and game changing and engaging using our technology. And I guess it's a bit like, if you were selling computer graphics cards, you could talk about all the technology inside, or you could just someone down in front of it with a great computer game and just blow their minds with like, play the game, actual gameplay. And that's what the Dolcelorian is. So the Dolcelorian, I mean, the Dolcelorian is an AI agent that weaves together all of this technology into this kind of compelling narrative. So it's then this narrative spans 12 chapters with about 2 weeks between each chapter, so about 6 months. And basically, the narrative goes a bit like this. So with Fermion Protocol, well, let me start back. Back in the last bull run, Boson Protocol purchased for about $1 million a piece of fashion history called the Glass Suit, which is a Dolce and Gabbana masterpiece, which is a physical suit still housed in their sort of palace in Milan, which I was invited to go over and do some photo shoots and stuff last year. So they kind of custody it for us, and we let them display it and stuff like that. But essentially, this glass suit we took and we fractionalized that on Fermion Protocol. So that means what we did is we took the ownership of that suit and minted 100,000 sort of ERC20 fractions. And so if you own, a proportion of, if you own some of these fractions, you'll own a proportion of the suit. And so what we're doing over this 12-part series is having this basically like a game that people can play, which weaves in our narrative together with different activities for the audience. So, for example, the first chapter was the glass suit, and in fact, we have a sort of like sci-fi video that gets published every 2 weeks. So the glass suit is in the Dolce Gabbana kind of atelier, which is like this palace in Milan. And it's just like the normal suit sat there. And then at the end of that, it kind of fractionalizes. And during that period, there were a whole load of quests where people could, earn some of these fractional tokens. And then for chapter 2, where we sort of launched the agent, what we said was that during that fractionalization process, reality dysfunction occurred and there was some glitch. And from that glitch was formed an AI agent demigod. So this agent exists on X. It has its own X account, the Dolcelorian. And so people can go and tweet and engage with this agent. And at the moment, for the first couple of chapters, it's kind of a little bit, it's been a little bit confused because it's just gone through quite a lot, having a reality dysfunction, people, but it's been engaging with people. And then we had, for chapter 2, we had a retrospective airdrop to the whole community. So if you'd been a community member, you can go and claim this retrospective airdrop. Plus, also, if people were to retweet, I mean, we had like 5 million views of the video, which is like, I don't know, 50, 100 times more than any tweet that we've ever done. I mean, like 5 million views and thousands of people retweeting and claiming it's just kind of massively spiked. And then for chapter 3, these basically this Dolcelorian battles with centralized platforms like Amazon and eBay. And he talks about this raising this kind of platform rebellion against value vampires and stuff like this. And so each week you've got this sort of sci-fi video that comes out, and then either there's some way of claiming some of parts of the fractions, or coming out this week we have stake for the rebellion, so you can go and stake Boson tokens and earn fractions of these of the suit. And so this sort of thing unfolds, and this agent is going to be going to battle against these sort of centralized extractionary platforms, and also against some of the, there are a number of pretty centralized kind of what we call pseudo protocols. So the protocols enabling payment and stuff for in this agentic economy that are still using that old kind of Amazon PayPal model, although they're using crypto rails. And so this agent is going to be going to battle with those, and rather than I mean, we just had an essay published by one of the kind of Web3 marketing gurus, just saying that, rather than engaging the community, it's sort of recruiting a community and using all of these different game mechanics, etc. So yeah, it's pretty cool, and it's kind of gone viral, which is amazing.
It sounds amazing to me.
Mhm.
I like the glass suit battling everybody. It's fascinating. I want to find out a couple things. Number one, using a retweet to earn model, right? Why did you choose to go with the community approach instead of a traditional approach like Amazon? And then how is this AI agent approach, that represents a luxury item? How how's that going to be a game changer for how we might deal with high value assets going forward?
Okay, so what the first question was, remind me?
The retweet to earn model and the community approach. Why was that important?
Well, I mean, we're a decentralized kind of network, so having our community, having a strong and vibrant community behind it is, they will be the beneficiaries of all of this. So we don't have, with a normal company like Amazon, all the money that they make extracting from you and me and sellers, their job is to extract as much money as they can from the participants in the network and send that up to Jeff and all the other shareholders. But with a decentralized network, our job is to create value and equitably distribute that amongst participants and token holders. So they are our kind of, it's in our DNA to generate value and distribute it. But also, it's helped us really grow and spread the word. I mean, as we mentioned earlier, what we're doing is really quite sophisticated technology. And the way to spread the word of that is, I think it's much more powerful to show its potential, with actions rather than in trying to describe complex technology in words. And so it's been, very successful in that regard, and spreading the word and showing the potential. Because, the difference between our technology and, platforms and stuff is we're building it all on this programmable sort of substrate, if you like. So you can do all of this, you can program in all of this kind of gameplay and kind of gamification mechanics and all of these things that you just can't do with standard sort of platform technology. Yeah.
Got it. So what I see here is it sounds, if you're successful and you have been so far, that this is not just a one stop shop, like one thing. Like I think it could apply to the whole entire high luxury market, not just fashion, not just one part of fashion, but the fractional ownership can apply. You're really revolutionizing, high luxury markets altogether. You know, how do you see that playing out?
Well, I mean, so I mean, there's a number of different angles here. One is that fractionalization opens up new markets for ownership for assets that previously could only be owned by a very small group of people, and creates sort of, much bigger, more liquid markets for people that might want to own a piece of that. But it also turns commerce, what we're doing is kind of like commerce and loyalty combined. So, you're buying things, but it's not just a straight transaction. You're buying, or you can either buy parts of this asset, or you can do things to earn parts of the asset, and buying and earning and all of these things are all kind of combined into some sort of a gamified experience. And that's what we sort of see as the future of commerce is becoming less transactional and more about this kind of programmable loyalty commerce. So more of an experience that people will kind of get into and have these deeper, more engaging experiences with brands and these sort of luxury items behind them. So yeah, I mean, we're already working with a number of other brands on different but similar concepts, because basically the technology that we've built is a toolkit. I mean, the Dolcelorian is one, I think, quite powerful example of what you can do, but it's a toolkit. You could build many different things, combining, you know, crypto, loyalty, commerce, ownership, AI, and all of these different things together. Yeah.
Got it. So I saw some stuff. So I had some stuff. So I've had interviews in the past with fashion creators, fashion designers, artists, especially during the NFT days. You know, and some of them built luxury brands, luxury items, and they had successful NFTs. But with the AI agents added on top of the NFTs, how will that be a revolution, a forward-looking revolution to Web3 and be the next step up for the adoption of this industry?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you think, I mean, as this agent evolves, what you have here is a personality, a character that, brands previously had talked about, brand personality, is it? But what you have here is an actual engaging personality. You have assets, you have an engaging personality, you have commerce, you have loyalty, you have all of these. It's bringing these things alive. If you think about sort of the evolution of the relationship between a consumer and these luxury brands, and you rewind like maybe 20 years ago, it was all very much the brand communicating to their customers, and then the customers would buy this fixed thing. But we've seen over the last certainly 10 years more of a brand recognition of the need for community, where things are more interactive and but still quite static, right? Still quite, yeah, interactive but scripted. But moving forward, these things can be dynamic, and so if you've got this AI agent that's the embodiment of a brand or an embodiment of a class of product or whatever, and is able to make decisions on, okay, yeah, you're, for example, in later chapters, And we're slowly layering this sort of complexity. But in later chapters, the agent itself is going to be able to reward people that support it in its mission by giving tokens of itself that have real value. Because at the end of all of this, we're going to have this auction of the asset. And of course, as the asset is, the value of these assets is often linked to their sort of provenance and history, and so it's creating its own hype, if you like. So, but so in future chapters, people that join and sort of help support the mission will be given dynamically there and then on X. Will be given fractions of this agent. So that what we're seeing is this whole toolkit now that is replacing pretty static one-way communication with brands, and really kind of creating a toolkit where brands can engage with their communities. And one of the big things that luxury brands aim to do is to have more frequent contact and engagement with their customers. I mean, often like luxury brands, because maybe they're high ticket, high price items, that the time between sales, it can be quite long for these brands. So having this kind of constant engagement is a real sort of advantage for these brands as well.
I'm intrigued about the later chapters. I'm also intrigued about, the toolkit concept. With the toolkit, say everything's working the way you see the toolkit working, and like I want to know what like commerce is going to be completely different then. So I want to see what your utopia or your vision, is for the future of commerce.
Yeah. Well, I mean, many sort of years ago, when I was doing this kind of first master's, I wrote an essay where I sort of described the future of commerce as I saw it was kind of programmable, gamified, and it was kind of like loyalty and commerce. And let me explain what I mean. I mean, at the moment, well, you've got these three different domains, right? You've got gaming, where you kind of play stuff, and I don't know, you pick up weapons and sort of, and so it's all very kind of like abstract value. And then you have commerce, where you go and you send money that way and you get goods come back, right? And then you've got kind of like loyalty. I mean, I used to travel a lot on business, so I'd play that whole loyalty, airline loyalty, where I'd, travel on this airline to get these miles and then be able to kind of go on, upgrade when I go on holiday with my wife and stuff. And I think you're with programmable technologies like crypto, I think you're just going to see the merging of all three of these, so that and also with technology becoming ubiquitous. I mean, there's a whole next generation of these kind of augmented reality glasses. So, wherever you go, whatever you're doing, instead of this kind of very, very obvious transactional, like, let me advertise my product to you and you buy it, that there are going to be these kind of like these games being played, overlaid with reality, where it's not all going to be give me your money, here's the product. There are going to be like just parts of the game where you can play for free, other parts where you might do something of value to the brand, and then you'll get something more for free, and then other parts that you can kind of buy in, and all of this combined into these quite sophisticated kind of gaming experiences is the way we're traveling, which is just, it's more engaging, it's more fun, it gives the opportunity for the brand to really develop relationships and have a very distinct personality. And that's the sort of direction I think that commerce is traveling.
Interesting. So you have this meta system. You're using it for high quality items. You're using it for everyday usages. You know, commerce. You're gonna have the way that you and I, interact with AI agents is going to change too, right? So beyond this campaign, how do you see the change between how we interact with the agents?
Well, I think the main thing is that at the moment, I mean, I've been using, AI agents and stuff quite a bit, but at the moment, where you have to sort of go to the agent, you have to go to ChatGPT or something like that, typically, and you're typing in your prompt, and there's quite a big learning curve of how do I get what I want out of this agent, etc. But I think that gap is going to close, and it's not going to be us that close it, because you know, the agents are the ones that are good at learning, right? So I think it's just going to get to the stage where you're just going to be talking to your agent like you would, talk to Siri or Alexa, but and you'll be able to say, oh, okay, just conversationally, I'm looking to go on a holiday, I don't know, next Easter. I'd like to go somewhere warm, what are the options? And then it will come back and construct, for you a whole set of options, and you go, oh, okay, I like that one. Tell me more about this, and and so the agents will be the primary interface for you in the digital world instead of screens. And I think, kind of like augmented reality, immersive glasses instead of screens and tapping. I mean, I'm a terrible typist even now. Years of typing. And I think the keyboard will be in the Museum of Technology alongside the telex, the fax, the typewriter. I mean, it just and the same with screens, right? And you'll just have, this again with the mobile phone. I think it's a clunky device. I think that these glasses, and then being able to speak natural language to AI is going to be the way it's going to go with AI. And, you know, crypto is the natural way for machines to exchange value. I mean, it's just we don't need credit cards and MasterCard and, all of these other sort of legacy payment systems. I mean, crypto is machine payments, right? It's the exchange of value natively for machines. And so, and that's fine when the where value is on chain. You can get really robust guarantees. If you and I, you know, if I wanted to buy an NFT from you, we could very easily use a smart contract to do an atomic swap, right? And we could guarantee that I get the NFT, you get the money, and but if we want to sell a car or a painting or a this, that's a more difficult problem because you have, these kind of couple of challenges, which is like one is, what we call this physical asset oracle problem, which is if I tokenize my car, you buy the token, how do you know you're going to get the car? Right? Okay. That's one of the problems that both Boson and Fermion solve. And then the other one is, how do we ensure fair exchange? So when you've got these kind of nuances, oh well, it was supposed to be like this, and but it wasn't. How do you ensure and arbitrate this kind of fair exchange? Um, and so these two problems are what Boson and Fermion solves. So if you're going to have an AI agent that's going to kind of do these transactions from you, it's really nice to have the AI agent be able to rely on cryptographic guarantees of fairness and exchange. It's nice to have those kind of rails because I also think that, you know, these AI agents, their smartness is going to be used for, kind of like scam agents and stuff like that. I mean, can you imagine now in the wrong hands programming these agents to go and target e-commerce systems and whatever, where if you could just call up and say, oh, I didn't get my delivery, or I didn't, or all of these things that are now, and they go, okay, we'll send you another one that are now hackable. It's just that people aren't going to take the time to do all of these phone calls and stuff like that. But if you've got a bank, if you've got an agent doing that, then and so having robust, secure settlement rails for off-chain assets in an agentic economy is an absolute essential thing. Yeah.
I agree. I sound like I said, I'm a crypto, so it makes sense to me because I'm a crypto. But you know, I can see the benefits of fractionalizing. You know, like the suit you mentioned, like the suit we did talk about the Dolcelorian. I like that concept. I don't know if I can fractionalize my Volvo. You know,
No,
right to the store.
no, no. But then, also another great sort of use case for fractionalization is you might want to just invest in some sort of an index fund of certain class of assets and not be exposed to any one individual asset. But you've got a piece of 100 of this particular watch or 100 of these particular vintage cars, or and so you can get that sort of exposure. I mean, a lot of people see the benefits of fractionalization. I think the strongest economic argument for what we're doing with the likes of Fermion is, which is for the high value assets, is this whole concept of in economics we have this law of one price, which is similar assets in a perfect market should have the same price. Okay. But when you look at all of these like luxury assets that are on these different, like, it might be like Rolexes in the shop window of jewelers in New York, and then there's another one in Hong Kong, another one in Paris, and these types of assets, or there's another 10 that are on this website somewhere, because these types of assets are in these different like silos. They're not nicely connected on a single market. They have quite big price discrepancies. And so we've seen through history that when technologies come along that connect fragmented markets, you have like a period where there's a big wave of just like arbitrage, because you've got these, and what we'll be using on sort of Boson and Fermion are AI agents that will go find out price discrepancies and then list these items on our connection rails. And of course, our connection rails are cryptographic guarantees of that either get the item or your money back, and we'll be able to make those kind of what are called transient profits. So during this period when the arbitrage happens, and then our token model will then be to recycle those profits into incentivizing further arbitrage by agents on the network. So that is a huge economic opportunity, and we've seen it a number of times, like when the introduction of electronic trading, for example. You see this kind of like big spread sort of come down and massive arbitrage opportunity. So that's probably the primary economic opportunity that we're going to exploit with crypto agents and real world assets.
Sounds exciting to me. So really interesting. So I want to thank you very much for your time today. I enjoyed speaking with you, and I learned a lot. Yeah, so it's great. So I have one last question.
Sure.
It's easy. How can people find out more information about you, about the Dolcelorian? How can they become, investors in the suit? Any of that? How can they find out more information about you?
So the website's a good place to start. So the Dolcelorian.com, bosonprotocol.io, fermionprotocol.io. All the information they need comes from there. And also our Twitter accounts, Boson Protocol, Fermion Protocol, and the Dolcelorian.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Jamal.